Pain is temporary, but glory is forever. So there was a king who wanted to build an enormous statue in his own likeness. He wanted it to be so massive that people would have to look up to see its towering presence. And he wanted it to be placed in the town square where everyone could see it every day. So he brought in the best artists in the kingdom and he laid out all of his treasure for them, telling them to make him immortal through their art. And they went to work. Every day, hundreds of workers were busy chipping away at stone, trying to get it just right, trying to honor the king in the best way possible. They worked for weeks and months. And slowly the statue began to take shape. It became a massive colossus with the king's face on it, the king's robes flowing around him. And the king's scepter held high in the air. Everyone in the kingdom was excited about it. When it was finished, so there would be a huge celebration. The artisans were proud of their work. The king was proud of what he saw. And the people were proud of their mighty king. But then one day, as the workers were putting the finishing touches on the statue, something terrible happened. A huge gust of wind swept through town and knocked over the scaffolding that had been holding up one side of the statue. The great stone colossus collapsed and crashed to the ground, crashing into pieces. It was so massive that it took dozens of elephants just to move it. And as it lay in 1,000 pieces, the king knew that his dream was dead. He was so upset that he sent the leaders of the project to prison, blaming them for his misfortune. But as time passed, the king began to realize that he had made a big mistake. The statue might have been a massive failure, but those same artists who had designed the statue had shown incredible skill and talent. The sculptors and the painters and the architects had all done their best work on that statue. So instead of punishing them, he set them free and he offered them a chance to do something new. This time, instead of building a statue of himself, he told them to build a monument to the glory of the sun. This monument would be built from the very best materials, and it would be dedicated to the most important thing in the kingdom, the sun, which gave them life and the warmth and the life itself. So they got to work and they created the most beautiful monument anyone had ever seen. It was a glorious spire that reached towards the heavens, decorated with statues of the gods and the scenes from mythology. Every morning when the first rays of sunlight hit the monument, it seemed to glow with divine light. And every evening when the sun set, the monument cast long shadows that looked like flames. The king was so happy with this new project that he ordered all of the people to gather around the monument every morning and the evening to celebrate the glory of the sun. So everyone did. Every morning they would come and stand around the monument while priests performed ceremonies and sang hymns to the gods. And every evening they would come back to watch the sun set and the shadows grow long. For years, this continued. People came and celebrated the sun, and the king loved it. But after many years, the king grew old and tired and he knew that his time was coming to an end. So he called for the artists one last time and he told them to do one more thing for him. Something that would honor him and his legacy for eternity. Confused, the artists asked him what he wanted them to do. And the king told them to build a tomb for him. He wanted it to be the greatest tomb that had ever been built. A place where people could come and remember the great king. So the artists got to work. They gathered the finest materials and they designed a tomb that was truly magnificent. It was a pyramid-shaped tomb made of black granite, so massive that it seemed like a mountain. The workers carved images of the king's ancestors on the walls, and they filled the inside with treasures and riches. They even built a secret passageway that led down into the bedrock so that no more one could ever desecrate the tomb. And when it was finished, the king was so happy that he ordered everyone in the kingdom to come and see it. So the entire population showed up to marvel at the king's tomb. The artists and the architects were praised as geniuses. The king basked in the glory of it all, thinking that finally he would be immortal. But then after the celebrations were over and the crowds had gone home, the king entered his tomb alone. He walked through the passageway into the bedrock and he saw how dark and dank it was. So there was no more light down there, and the only sound was the dripping of water. And as he sat down on his throne, he realized that he had made a terrible mistake. He had spent his whole life trying to build things that would honor him, but now he couldn't even see or feel anything. No more light, no more air, no more sounds, no more life. And as he sat there in the darkness, he understood that everything he had done had been for nothing. The statue, the monument, the tomb, none of it mattered. He had been a fool to think that any of it would make him immortal. But then suddenly, he heard a noise. Someone was outside the tomb singing a song. And as he listened, he realized that it wasn't just one person, it was everyone. The entire kingdom was gathered outside his tomb, singing songs and telling stories about the great king. And as he listened to them, he felt a sense of peace come over him. He had been a good king, he realized, and his people loved him. That was the only thing that mattered. That was his legacy. Not the statue, not the monument, not the tomb, but the life of his people. And with that realization came acceptance. He had lived a good life, he thought, and now it was time to let go. And as the sun rose the next morning, the people outside the tomb stopped singing. They had watched the sun rise over the great king's tomb, and they knew it was a new day. A new day for the kingdom, a new day for the people, and a new day for the king. Because although his body would remain in the tomb, his spirit was now free. Free to roam the earth and watch over his people. Free to explore the world and discover what else was out there, and free to finally rest. Now, the interesting thing about this story is that it's not really about a king at all. It's actually about all of us. We're all like that king, constantly striving to build things that will make us immortal, constantly trying to achieve things that will outlast us. But the truth is, none of that matters. What matters is how we live our lives and the impact we have on the people around us. That's our legacy. That's what we leave behind. So don't waste your time chasing empty glories. Instead, focus on living a good life and being a good person. Because in the end, that's all that matters. Pain is temporary, but glory is forever.